What's up, you guys? So we're gonna go. I got like makeup burn all over my face and shit. Anyway, I wanted to just pop on really quickly and let you know, like, talk about this topic for a moment, kind of give you guys a little insight, because I think we tend to forget this as an option. If you're popping on, say what's up, say hi, let me know that you're here. Happy Monday. One of the things, okay, you get to choose where you reside. That's what I titled this, and here's why. So what I mean by that is, like, you get to choose where you are going to stand, right? Like, what are you going to surround yourself with? Are you going to stand over here and, like, shit that might not be good for you, or that might bring your mind, like, your mood down, or, like, change your positivity into negativity? Like, are you going to stand in that, or are you going to choose to come stand over here? Are you going to choose to stand in a place of, like, a shitload of excuses? Or are you going to choose to come stand over here where there's options and choices, and you're looking at things like, damn, like, I get to go work out, or I get to do this, or blah, 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 blah. Like, choosing where you reside is a really, really big thing. And I'm going to give you an example of what happened to me over the past, like, couple of weeks. I was actually just talking about this with somebody, and I was like, damn, that's a really interesting thought process. So, honestly, I used to kind of avoid my DMs. Okay, and this sounds like a super first world problem, but let me, like, hear me out. It's a great example. On Instagram, I have quite a large little community over there that I've built, and I would kind of avoid the messages. Like, I would stay out of my DMs and not necessarily interact as much as I maybe wanted to, just because there is a percentage of it that's, like, sickening, or that's just, like, nonsense, right? But then there is a percentage of people who, like, really care and are really caring and have real questions, and it's a great conversation. And so I was listening to this interview the other day, or actually yesterday, and it made me realize something. So not this past week, but the week before that, I, like, made this commitment to get back in the game as far as, like, really, like, just letting all the things out there. If you guys didn't notice, like, I've been live a lot more, and, like, all this different shit. I'm, like, back in the mood. Let's do this. Which is heavy sometimes. Like, it's not always a simple thing to throw all of that out into the world, right? It's not always a simple thing to show up in that capacity. So I take it very seriously. But back to the story was, like, not last week, but the week before, I was, like, all up in my messages, responding to everybody, having great conversations, you know, having great interactions and constructive conversations in the comments on my pages, everything. And it was great, and it made me, it, like, lit me up. It was amazing. Like, that's kind of the point, right, of what we're doing. And so then I had kind of a rough week last week. As far as, like, not a rough week, but, like, there were way more, like, weird foggy moments than there were happy moments. And I was like, what's the fucking difference? Like, what's different? What's happening? And I would say not all week. It was towards the end of the week. But anyway, so as I was listening to this video yesterday, I was listening to Gabby Bernstein. If you guys don't know who she is, she's amazing. She's the author of the book, The Universe Has Your Back. She's, like, she just released another book that I can't remember the name of it, but Gabby Bernstein is her name, and she's great. And she was having this conversation. She was telling a story about how she had found this page on Facebook where people had, like, created this page all, like, dedicated to hating her, basically. And there was, like, 100 or 200 people on this page hating her, like, talking all kinds of shit, right? So she, like, went down the rabbit hole, because, I mean, this is a woman who is, like, millions of followers. She's got best-selling books. Like, she's speaking on stages all across the world. You know, like, she's a big fucking deal, right? And we're all human. And so she had this moment where this page of all these haters, like, she was, like, really brought down by it. And so she was sitting in this space of, like, it was really, really bothering her, making her question a lot of things. And, like, her husband came up to her and was like, listen, okay, like, you're not even fucking showing up and being present with me right now, and it's been, like, a week or something like that. And he was like, you gotta snap out of this. And she's like, yeah, but all this, and he was like, okay, but what about all the people that are in your DMs that love you and that are messaging you and want to talk about this and want to have the conversations, that are reaching out to you? Like, you don't even know where your DMs are. So, like, that's a funny part of the story. Like, she didn't even know, like, where the direct messages section was of her Instagram. But so what he did was he put her in, he showed her where it was, and she spent, like, the next 2 weeks literally just DMing back and forth with people. As long as it was, like, a constructive conversation and they were willing to have a conversation, like, she was in it to win it, right? She was doing that, and it lifted her up, and it reminded her why the fuck she does this in the first place, right? And the reason I'm telling you that story is because it made me realize that, like, man, I was in a really great, like, space as far as feeling really good about sharing all this stuff when I was interacting like that again. And not letting like some of the nonsense that comes into the instant messages, like which will be always present, like not letting some of that nonsense bother me, but when I was really engaging with the people who fucking want to have a conversation. So it made me think back to that. And then I took it a step further today where I was thinking, I'm like, okay, you get to choose where you stand. You get to choose where you're going to put your feet, in what side, in the shit or in the grass, right? Like, and sometimes we're in the shit and we got to get our way out. But do you want to live there? Like, what are you going to cling to? What are you going to choose to stand in? The negativity or the positivity? What are you going to focus on, right? Like, you get to make that decision. And while not everything is sunshine and roses all day long, that's not what I'm saying, but you get to choose if you're going to reside there. Do you live there? Are you going to let that become what takes over your whole day or your whole month or your whole week? Like, is it going to pull you into that, or are you going to choose to go this other direction? If you guys are commenting, it's not showing up, FYI. I'm not ignoring you. It's just, for some reason, my phone's not showing me comments lately. Hey, Roanne. Okay, good. So it's just extremely important that you realize, like, in those moments of, like, maybe you're in chaos or turmoil or you're feeling really negative or you're like, oh, this is terrible. Like, take a minute, stop for a second and look around and be like, hold on a minute. Like, am I choosing to stand here? Like, or what can I do to step away from that? What can I do to walk into a different field? What can I do to walk across a fucking street, right? Like, what can I do to shift that state of mind? So just remember that, like, you have the strength to do that. And it does take strength, and it takes bravery, and it takes courage, and it's not always easy. I posted over on Instagram this morning about some stuff about depression and kind of a situation I went through yesterday, and it was really just like a lesson. It was all that it was, and I'll probably post it over here tomorrow maybe or something like that. But you know, and I got a lot of mixed responses. I got a lot of some people that were negative, which is fine, or a lot of people were like, oh my god, like, what's wrong with you? Like, they automatically thought that meant I was like suicidal or something, and I'm like, no, I'm okay. I was just sharing an experience with you, so you see the light and the dark and the shadows and the brightness and like all of the aspects of life, and like know that you're not the only person who goes through that, or like this is how maybe you can combat that if you don't know how. But it was really interesting because it opened up a lot of conversation, and by me going in and having that conversation, it made it even of a better space. So instead of dwelling on those negative comments, those people who are like, oh my god, like, really, like, what, this doesn't make any sense, or you're lying, or whatever. It's really, really interesting when you can start to shift that thought process. Because, you know, like, here's the thing, like, I was fearful. I'll just be super honest. I actually wrote another post about this that I'll be sharing soon. But, like, I was fearful of the fact that, because 95% of the time, like, you guys see me in this state, right? And I'm like, they're going to think I'm lying to them. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not lying to you at all. Like, anytime that you see me in a good mood and I'm happy and I'm talking about good things, like, that's real. I refuse to show up anything. I don't fake it well. Anybody who knows me personally knows, like, my emotions are written all over my face. I have no time and energy to fake shit. Like, that is not what I do in my life. I'm not that person, never have been, never will be. And so, like, that's when I was like, dude, you don't need to worry about that. Like, you know your integrity, you know your authenticity, you know where you're at, and your people do too. And so it was really just a space for you to understand, like, again, we all have that fear and those demons and those things that pop up, but, like, you get to choose if you let that win, or, like, completely take over, or if you're going to move yourself out of it. And you do have to move yourself out of it a lot. Sometimes you have to call for some reinforcements, but at the end of the day, it will always come down to you moving yourself out of it first. Like, no one else can do that for you. Jamie, did she figure out why they would, I don't know what your question is, Robert, I'm sorry, say shitty stuff? I mean, people are always going to say shitty stuff. Like, a lot of people are triggered or whatever. What you have to recognize is what people interpret things on the level that they're at, or people interpret things based upon where they're standing. So if someone is being shitty to you or negative to you or misinterpreting what you're saying, you know, as long as you can make sure you're clear, you're coming from a place of compassion and love. But if they're taking it a different way, it has nothing to do with you. Like, someone's response, that has been the golden lesson to me since I started sharing my life publicly. There's been two main lessons. I would say, like, obviously there's been a million lessons, but the two main, like, principles is, one is, like, you have no control over people's reactions to what you do and say. Like, that has nothing to do with you. Their reaction is going to come from their own situation, their own stuff. But if they're coming at you in a negative space, 99.9% of the time it has nothing to do with you. So your biggest thing is you make sure that you're, I don't know what you're saying, Robert. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. I don't know who they're picking on. But people are going to do that, and you just have to be bigger than it, and you have to realize it has nothing to do with you. It's what I'm getting at. Like, and it's hard. It's not always easy, especially when it's people that you love, you know, or that you thought loved you, and maybe they do love you, but it's just, again, it's not about you. It's about them. That's where they're at, and you just have to remind yourself of that, and you have no control over it. All you can control is the intention you put behind things, your love, your compassion. If you're articulating something based on your own truth, like in putting good out into the world, like that's what you have control over. I'm not a big fan of spewing hate. Like, even I don't talk about things I hate or don't like, because I feel like there's no point to that. You know, that to each their own. But like, as far as I'm concerned, like if you're putting love and compassion and a great intention behind what you're saying, and you're speaking on truth and on things that you're knowledgeable about, or you're having a genuinely constructive conversation, then like if people are coming at you in a negative capacity, it has nothing to do with you. It really has nothing to do with you at all. So just keep that in mind. The lady that opened to, I don't know what you're saying, Robert. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope that's helpful. Again, just remember, when you find yourself in that spot and you're like, God, this is so frustrating, like think to yourself, okay, hold on a minute. Like, am I choosing to stand here? Like, what can I do to shift out of this? Because you get to choose where you reside. So reside on where lifts you up and fills you up. And even, you know, sometimes it just comes down to a perspective shift. Sometimes you don't even have to physically move. You just have to change the way you're looking at it. Like I did with the DM situation. Like, I was like, oh man, I gotta respond to all this shit. Some of these are nonsense. And some of them are nonsense. So I just don't pay them any mind. I go into the ones people are actually asking questions and having conversations that matter. Like asking questions, giving responses, like that's where I'm at, right? I'm down for that. If you're like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm not going to answer you because I don't know what that is. Like, what's up? I have no idea what to say. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's definitely a choice. It's just a perspective shift. So why make one thing all bad when there's one thing that's like, ooh, you know, that doesn't feel good. Well, then you get to choose where you put your state of mind. Nothing anyone does has to do with you once you learn that. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I'll tell you. We'll end on this. So I have a lot of like knowledge from the Tony Twist, right? Like he's like my favorite human most of the time. But he's like, you know, you guys know. We don't need to go into detail. He's my person. And one of my favorite Tony quotes is, the only thing that changes is your state of mind. He's told me that from the beginning. And what's funny is his dad always told him all of his life, Tony, the only thing that changes is your state of mind. And people can't change your state of mind without your permission. And like that used to piss him off so bad. And so like he loves to say it to me to piss me off too. But it's a really good lesson because it's true. The only thing that changes is your state of mind. And the only one in control of your state of mind is you. They can only change it with your permission. So keep that in mind. Love you guys very much. I hope you have an amazing Monday. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.